Welcome, everybody, to the membership class for Unity of Bonita Springs. My name is Alden Studebaker. I'm the minister of the church, and we've created this online class to make it easier for you to join this church to become a member. And this is especially true given everybody's busy schedules. You can attend this class literally from anywhere that has an internet connection and at a time that works for you. And so let's get to it. And just to let you know what to anticipate, there will be many slides that will come on the screen throughout the class, and I will present ideas relevant to each slide. You're free to stop and start the video when you want to make notes, or maybe take a screenshot. If you have questions, please share them with me by email. My email address is revalden@aol.com. That's REVALDEN@AOL.com. And I'll get back with you as soon as I can. So here's the plan for the class. We're going to be covering a number of different topics, including Unity's essential teachings. And we're not talking in depth, but just kind of the basics here. We're also going to talk about the history of the Unity movement and Unity of Bonita Springs. So you'll have a sense of history about the organization that became this church. We're going to look over the mission, vision, and core values of our ministry, how we're organized, and also service opportunities. So this class is open to anybody who would like to just sort of refresh themselves about Unity and our ministry. But if you'd like to join our church, if you want to become a member, you have to view this video. So you need to get a hold of me for anything. My name is right there, Reverend Alden Studebaker, revalden@aol.com. And now let's take a look at the Fillmores, the co-founders of the Unity movement. And we look first at Myrtle Fillmore. She was born in 1845 in Ohio. And in her childhood, she got the message that she may end up inheriting tuberculosis. And sure enough, she did along the way. Now, she was a school teacher. She went to Oberlin College. She met her husband, Charles, who's the other part of the co-founding of Unity in Texas. They got married, they had children, and they found themselves in the Kansas City area. And she found herself with tuberculosis, as she had been told she would have. And back then, TB was kind of a death sentence. They didn't really have the modern medicines we have today to cure it. And so she was really, I would imagine, desperate to find some way of getting over the disease, to alleviate the suffering that comes along with it. And she heard about a lecture, by Dr. E.B. Weeks. He was a New Thought lecturer, had come to town, and they went to hear the lecture. And the story goes, she heard the message in the lecture that you are a child of God, therefore you do not inherit sickness. And this just lit her up. Hey, I don't have to live with tuberculosis. I can cure myself of this. I'm a child of God. And she began working on herself, spending time in prayer and meditation, imagining the cells of her body renewing and restoring themselves to good health. And she worked on this for a couple of years, and in time was cured of tuberculosis. Well, Charles, we take a look at Charles Fillmore. Charles was born in 1854. He's from Minnesota. And the story goes that he was in a skating accident, as they do a lot of ice skating up in Minnesota, and ended up with a hip that was kind of out of place, a leg that wasn't as long as the other one. And he went through life doing all kinds of jobs, but he was kind of a student of philosophy, a student of the world, a self-taught person. and he studied works of Shakespeare, Tennyson, Emerson, and others, but had many jobs until he got to Kansas City with his family and developed real estate. Well, when he observed Myrtle's healing, he became even more interested in studying the different religions and philosophies of the world that were available at the time, and devoted himself to the full-time study of truth teachings. And it was in 1889 that Charles and Myrtle came together to form Silent Unity. And Silent Unity is the prayer ministry of the Unity movement, still going today at Unity Village, Missouri. And so we move along in our class here and talk about the growth of the Unity movement. Again, 1889 is sometimes the date that's used to denote the founding of the Unity movement. It really kind of came during Myrtle's healing period, but 1889 it got started. Formally, Silent Unity began in 1890, and they began printing a lot of pamphlets and things. They printed a magazine called Unity Magazine, which is still published today. And Myrtle came across some pamphlets by a Dr. Emily Cady. She was a homeopathic physician from New York City, and she thought, oh, this is really good stuff. Gave it to the magazine department, and they began publishing some of her works in the magazine. That eventually became the first book of Unity, Lessons in Truth, kind of the prime book of Unity's teachings, written by Dr. Cady. And you can still buy it today. Again, the book goes back over 100 years. It's a $1 million seller, and an excellent book to really understand the foundational principles of Unity as written by Emily Cady. They eventually bought some property at the corner of 9th and Tracy in Kansas City, and started the Unity Inn, which was a vegetarian restaurant where people could go and get a good meal, and they had their headquarters right nearby on the same street, and continued the work of Silent Unity, continued the publication ministry. In 1913, Unity School of Christianity, which is kind of the mother church organization, was incorporated. This is prior to income tax, so it was incorporated as a regular business. Later on, that got changed to nonprofit, but that's when the organization was formally organized in a business sense. In 1920, the land for Unity Village was purchased, which is where the Unity movement is today. I think it was around 1,800 acres was purchased. And in 1929, the tower, the Unity Tower, which is kind of an icon of Unity, was built, as was the Silent Unity building. Those are still there today. You can go and visit them. And Unity Village buildings have been added to since then, many of them. It's a beautiful place to go. If you've never been there before, I highly recommend, if you're traveling through the Midwest, to make a point of going to Unity Village. It's just a beautiful place, all in kind of a Italianate architecture, with the red tile roofs and kind of the stucco outside. Beautiful rose garden, beautiful fountains. Grounds have, again, lots of hiking trails, and it's a great bookstore there. Also with kind of a little bit of I got to call it sort of a snack bar kind of place. You can get a little meal, and the Unity Inn is still there as well. Myrtle made her transition in 1931. Charles in 1948. He was 94 years old when he moved on. So that gives you a little bit about the growth of Unity. And now I want to talk about Unity today, and to begin with what's called UWH, Unity World Headquarters. You can kind of think of this as the mother church, or what was, and I think they are still organized as Unity School of Christianity. and the Silent Unity Prayer Ministry. And this prayer ministry, as I mentioned before, started around 1889, 1890, been going on over 100 years. It is a 24/7 prayer ministry. You can contact them any time of the day or night. They get millions of phone calls, millions of emails. They also still get written letters, snail mail letters. And I think they do most of their work by email. And I heard about half of it is through email, so you can do that. But there's also people there to answer the phone and talk with you and get your prayer request. So this is kind of the heart of the Unity movement. It's really about prayer. It began as a prayer ministry. Didn't begin as a church, really began as a prayer ministry to support people in overcoming the challenges of their lives, to support people in their spiritual growth. Now, in 1924, Unity began publishing this little booklet here. There we go, called The Daily Word. Maybe you've subscribed to it before, or read it before, or heard about it before, or some relative of yours read to you the word for today. And inside there is a little affirmation at the top. There's also some positive words and a Bible verse at the bottom, and the word for today. So the Daily Word is how many people know about Unity. There are millions of them printed in all kinds of languages. It's all over the world, and is probably the best known publication of Unity. Now, earlier I mentioned Unity Magazine, and that started in very early days in the 1890s. This is what it looks like today. It looks like any magazine you would pick up at a newsstand or have sent to you in the mail. We have them here at the church, as we do the Daily Word, for purchase if you want to buy them here, but you can subscribe to these periodicals, and there are all kinds of excellent articles in here. They've really made an effort of improving this magazine over the years. It used to be not a big magazine like this, kind of a smaller one, but now it is quite a fine thing. Unity has been publishing books. I mentioned Lessons in Truth before, but Unity has published hundreds of books since the early days. I'm just going to mention one because it's one I'm probably the most familiar with. This is a book called Wisdom for a Lifetime: How to Get the Bible Off the Shelf and Into Your Hands. It was published in 1980. I can't even get my date straight. 1998 is when this was published. It's a book that I wrote for Unity people, New Thought people, and just people with a broader view of religion to learn how to do their own Bible study. And this is the first edition that came out back then. It sold over 13,000 copies, and you can still find some here or there available. A couple of years ago, I came out with a second edition called Wisdom for a Lifetime in the 21st Century. Again, all this is on Amazon if you're interested in it. But just to show you that Unity has been a real publication kind of ministry. It's a way of, really reaching out to people through many different ways. And there are also retreats that are held at Unity Village. Those are really fun. You get to meet other people and to see the grounds there. And if you go to unity.org, I'm going to say that again, unity.org, take a look around on the website there, and you'll see all kinds of pamphlets available, ministries available to people of many backgrounds, especially in Spanish. There's a whole Spanish ministry and ministry to people who are LGBTQ. And anyway, this is Unity World Headquarters, UWH. Now, it's kind of funny. There are two organizations for something called Unity, but again, they have different focuses. And so Unity World Headquarters is sort of a broader outreach to the world through, again, prayer, publications, retreats, and that kind of thing. And then we have Unity Worldwide Ministries. Unity of Bonita Springs is a member of the Unity Worldwide Ministries, or what is often called UWM. There are 1,000 ministries around the world, and many outside the United States. So you'll find them in Africa, parts of Europe, South America, Mexico, those kinds of places. So what does UWM do? Well, it provides support for churches to be successful in church administration, things of that nature. Education, it is the organization that has the school for ministers, the seminary, and also for those who become what are called licensed Unity teachers, who are different focuses of serving in churches, such as youth ed, teaching classes, pastoral care, and other things. So it has an educational quotient to it. There's also development consultation available, how to expand one's ministry. There's also a service for ministerial employment. When a ministry is in need of a new leader, you simply contact UWM, and there are people there to support a church in that process. There are many products that UWM sells that pertain to ministry, leadership training, there's communication, also transitional ministry for ministries that are going through that process of from one leader to another. There's help with that, assistance in starting new groups. There's also support for developing youth education ministries. So this is what Unity is today. Moving along, let's take a look at Unity's essential teachings. And what we have on the screen here are Unity's 5 essential teachings. Now, for a long time, Unity didn't quantify or qualify, shall we say here, quantify as well, its teachings. But in the 1990s, there was kind of an effort to say, well, what is it that we're about? What do we really teach? If you go to any Unity church anywhere in the world, what will you find consistently taught by these churches? And so Connie Fillmore, who was the granddaughter of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, came up with these. And there are many different versions of these 5 principles and how they are described. But let's look at the ones right here. And the first one is this: there is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good. Unity affirms the oneness of God. There really is only one God, one presence. Again, we use a lot of words to describe what God is. Sometimes we use the word higher power. Sometimes we say the word spirit. Some people use a more traditional like Father God. Some people say Mother God. Again, in Unity, there's only one power. We don't really believe that there's like a secondary power out there, as some churches do, that is sort of battling God all the time. We affirm the oneness of God, the goodness of God, that God is absolute good in your life. So that's how we view God, as a presence and a power that is active in your life, not way off, like, you know, in the sky somewhere, but everywhere present. Number 2, our essence is of God, therefore we are inherently good. This God essence was fully expressed in Jesus the Christ. Who are we as people? Well, who we are spiritual beings. That's essentially what this is saying. And that who we are is inherently good. Now, that may be not the message that you got from some other place about who you were. Maybe you've heard other things that were not quite as lofty. But we believe in Unity that everyone is a prized creation of God, that everyone has the same Christ essence that Jesus did. And the word Christ literally means the anointed of God. We are all anointed of God. Now, Jesus fully understood who he was and demonstrated for us what is possible. We look at Jesus as like a mentor, Jesus as an elder brother, as a way shower, who can show us the way through his teachings to our own spirituality. Number 3, we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. This is something essential to Unity. That's why it's number 3. That the world that we experience, our world, our experiences in life, are the result of our thinking. Not every thought, not every fleeting thought becomes a reality. but the thoughts that we give the most power and energy and belief to. This is often called the principle of mind action, a universal principle. It's the principle of karma applied to consciousness. So when we run into situations in life and we're kind of fuming and fussing about it, what this principle is saying to us is saying, hey, you maybe had a part in this. What do you need to change inside yourself to maybe turn this around? So we are co-creators with God. We're not like a God, the creator, creating the whole universe and all that, but we're co-creators as spiritual beings with God's presence in creating reality through thoughts, again, held in mind, not every thought. So this is an essential principle of unity. And this leads us to number 4, kind of the tools of how to use this principle. Through prayer and meditation, we align our heart mind with God. Denials and affirmations are tools we use. Unity views prayer in a very affirmative way. Now, that's a little different than the begging and beseeching God, oh God, please help me in this situation. Now, that is prayer. But we also work with the idea of being more affirming with prayer, the knowing kind of prayer, where we believe it's really possible that what we're praying for will unfold in our lives. And we also believe in silent prayer, meditative prayer, to spend time in the silence and simply listening to God working through us, speaking to us, guiding us, and directing us. And this is how we align ourselves, our hearts, our minds, with this one presence and power of the universe. Now, what are denials? What are affirmations? Maybe you've heard these described before, but briefly I will simply share with you what denial is. Denial is releasing and letting go the power of some negative thought or condition in your life. You deny the power of fear, you deny the power of worry, and so on. And so you clear the way, you kind of clear your consciousness out to be able to affirm the good, to say something maybe, I am a child of God and therefore I do not inherit sickness, something more along those ways. And to say that with belief, with feeling, with understanding, and expectation. And so we work with these tools all the time to help change our lives, transform our lives, make our lives better. And number 5, through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. You got to live this stuff. You got to live it every day. That's a challenge. And sometimes we kind of move off of this. But when we recognize ourselves kind of getting off the trail, we pull ourselves back and we become aware and cognizant of how our thoughts, our words, and our actions are impacting our lives and other people as well. And through that, we live the truth that we know. And now let's move on to our ministry, Unity of Bonita Springs. And we're going to talk about the history of this church, its mission, its vision, its core values, how we're organized as a ministry, and what service opportunities are available to its members and friends. Okay, you'll see on the screen here a photo from the Unity Ministerial School of 1956. Well, how is this relevant to Unity of Bonita Springs today? Well, you'll see there on the bottom left side of the screen an arrow to a fellow by the name of Jack Kern. And Jack Kern became a Unity minister. He came to Naples, Florida decades ago and founded Unity of Naples. So Unity in this area where we are began quite a long time ago. Well, in the 1990s, there was a person by the name of Sandra Lockie, and she was a member of Unity of Naples, and she was encouraged by Reverend Jack Kern to go to Unity Village to become a minister. So she became ordained in 1994 and came to Bonita Springs area with the support of Unity of Naples and Reverend Jack Kern, and began the process of starting a ministry here in this area. And as you see here, the first steering committee meeting was held on September 9th, 1994. So I guess you could say that's maybe the birth date of Unity of Bonita Springs. And they were in rented space for a number of years around the Bonita Springs area. Again, Springs Plaza was one of the locations that is mentioned. And in the first couple of years, Unity of Naples provided some monetary funding, as well as some of its board members, to help get Unity of Bonita Springs started. So Unity of Naples is kind of our mother church. By 1998, which is just only 4 years after its founding, Unity of Bonita Springs was able to purchase the land where our ministry sits right now. And this is an aerial view of the property from 1998 and 1999. There was a blessing held of this property to just kind of, set the spiritual tone for what was to unfold here as our ministry of Unity of Bonita Springs. So kind of a cool photo of what it looked like back in the 90s when this was just kind of woods and all. And so from the late 1990s, there was a fundraising program to raise the money to build the building that we're in right now. And the grand opening of Unity of Bonita Springs Church, you can see what it looked like back then. Those palm trees, they've grown quite a bit since then. But it was dedicated for service May 29th, 2005 by its founding minister, Reverend Sandra Lockie. So kind of a cool photo there for us to take a look at. Now, here's another ministerial school class photo from 1982, and you'll see an arrow running from a fellow by the name of Phil Schlafer. You can see what he looked like in 1982. And Reverend Phil Schlafer was the minister that followed Reverend Sandra Lockie. And this is from the ministerial school back. This is at Unity Village, if you're curious. And he was hired as a new minister beginning in 2005, and really was a person that helped build this ministry along its way. During his tenure, it really grew. There were all kinds of landscaping things that were added, and all the work that he did over 15 years with his message, a very simple, powerful message that he did, as we say here, with a lot of grace and humor. And his wife, Jo, was a licensed Unity teacher. I mentioned teachers before. She did most of the work in setting up what became the prayer chaplain ministry here at Unity of Bonita Springs. But Reverend Schlafer was here for 15 years. The property here is really unique. It's an example of kind of a scrub habitat, or kind of a pine scrub habitat. It's a natural place to come there. We work really hard to kind of keep it native and eliminate all the alien species that are easily can travel and find root here. But on our 5 acres, we have just a beautiful place to walk around. We have what's called the Peace Path that goes through the back of the property, so you can walk along the way. You can rest on various benches. There's some examples here in the photograph, and have a meditation of sorts. So you can make it sort of a spiritual pilgrimage to come and simply walk the Peace Path. So that's right behind the church buildings. There's also connected to the Peace Path a memorial meditation garden, which has got also native plants. Again, everything that's behind the church are native plants. There are a few different kinds of landscaping plants at the entrance of the church, but everything behind is native plants. And so this meditation garden with a beautiful statue of this angel had been used for all kinds of, different ceremonies, memorial services. We've done pet blessings here, other kinds of services. And again, it's another place you can come and simply sit for a time of quiet meditation. And if you come out the back of the church. You'll find it easily by just simply walking down through the middle of the property. You'll see it on the right side. I want to talk about one of the former members of the church, Maxine Carter, and she was a very significant person in this church. She was from the entertainment world. Maybe you've seen something that she was in the movies and such. She was quite a dancer, and she gave a very large donation to fund the minister's study that I'm in right now. This was built onto the church later on. I mean, for a number of years, Reverend Schlafer didn't actually have his own office. He used the administrative office that's right off the lobby. But this particular office was, the seed money to get it going was given by Maxine Carter. So you'll just want to mention that to you. In this garden that is right next to the office is dedicated to her memory. In December of 2020, Reverend Phil Schlafer decided he would be retiring at the ripe young age of 80, serving our ministry for 15 years. And so as churches, when they go through the transition process, began trying to figure out what they were going to do. And Reverend Melissa Hill Greenbaum, who was a member of the church, was the person who spearheaded the prayer chaplain ministry and did a lot of teaching here, served this ministry during much of its transitional period. And so this gives you kind of a picture of the more recent history of our ministry. Now, another ministerial school photo from 1984, and you'll see an arrow going up to some guy in the back row there. That's me, what I looked like a few years ago. And again, I wanted to put there's my email address again for those of you who want to send me questions. I also have a website that if you go to, you'll see a lot about my work as a writer. It's my author's website. Anyway, I was trained similar time to Reverend Schlafer. When he was leaving to go out in the ministry in 1982, I was coming into the school and graduated 2 years after that. So we move on. I was interviewed here back in May of 2021 and was hired shortly thereafter and began my work here as the senior minister on July 15, 2021. My wife is a licensed Unity teacher, as was Joe Schlafer. And so she helps out here in a variety of ways. She's one of our platform assistants. And if you come on Sundays, you'll just always see her. And if you ever, want to ask her questions, she's certainly willing to speak with you, as am I. In December of 2021, we had a peace pole delivered to our property. A lot of Unity churches and other organizations that are dedicated to peace have these poles. They're made special with the languages that the organization wants to have on there, with the statement, "May peace prevail on earth." At the end of every service, we sing, "Let there be peace on earth." So we are dedicated to peace here as a church. We want to see our world a peaceful, abundant place for everybody. It has to work for everybody. And of course, we're a work in progress as planet Earth, as a human race. And so there are 4 languages, there are 4 sides of the peace pole. And we had it done in English, Spanish, in Mandarin, English, because that's the language that's spoken in the United States, Spanish, the second language, Mandarin, the most used language of the world. And we picked one indigenous language to put on there. We put Hawaiian on there. I have to say I had a part in that because I grew up in the islands from age 10 till into college. So that's our peace pole. You'll see it when you walk into the church, and it's right there as a reminder to us that we are here for peace. Mission, vision, and core values. Our ministry during its transition period before my arrival went through a process with a facilitator to help the church discover what its mission, vision, and core values are. Now, what's a mission statement? Well, a mission statement is what you're about. What is your business? I mean, what are you about? And so our mission statement is to invite and inspire spiritual consciousness through unity and its principles. So whenever we decide to do something, bring a person in to be a presenter, do some sort of project, it always has to be consistent with our mission statement. What's a vision statement? Well, sometimes the mission and vision get confused, but a vision statement is usually where you're striving to be, what you're striving to become. And so for us, it's we are love, joy, and acceptance in the world. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. So what we are is an open ministry. We're open to all kinds of people. We're not some sort of special country club and you have to have a secret password or something to get in or whatever. No, we're about being open and accepting of people. And there is a diversity of people here in our ministry. Not everybody is just all the same kind. We have people from many different backgrounds here. And then our core values. And these were some of the ideas when people thought, oh, what is our ministry about? What are we about? Well, we're about joy, we're about true emotion, love, community, spiritual connection, acceptance, inclusivity, very much part of inclusivity. We're very much about gratitude, faith, hope, charity, peace, connection, happiness, welcoming, and being supportive. So these are some of the core values of our ministry. How are we organized at Unity of Bonita Springs? Well, we have a board of trustees made up of 3 to 4 members who are elected at each annual membership meeting, and those meetings are held in the first quarter of the calendar year. And so there are people who are elected. Now, to be on the board of trustees, you have to be a member of the church. So if you're joining the church, you could serve on the board of trustees in the future. So we have meetings, regular board meetings, usually held on the 3rd Wednesday mornings of the month. The minister is hired by the board with input from the congregation to serve as spiritual leader and administrative director. So I am hired by the board. I was hired, as I mentioned before, back in May of 2021. And my role here is as the spiritual leader, in charge of the Sunday services, classes, and all of the things that we do here in that way. And I'm also kind of the business manager as well. Unity of the Church of Bonita Springs is a member of Unity Worldwide Ministries. I mentioned that earlier in our history part of the class. We're also a member of the Southeast Unity region. So there is, they divide up the United States into different regions. We're in the Southeast for obvious reasons. So that includes ministries from Tennessee to North Carolina, south, and all the way over to Louisiana. So we're in a very large region. We're a member of this region, and we receive support from this region. We support this region ourselves with our tithes as we do the association, excuse me, not the association. That's what the Unity Worldwide Ministries used to be called. It's the Association of Unity Churches. I show my age when I say that, but we support our support ministries, what we belong to, what we're a member of, with our tithes, and we receive support from them. And we're also affiliated with Unity World Headquarters and publisher of the Daily Word, which we support as well. So these are our connections with the rest of the Unity world. Service opportunities. How would you like to serve our ministry? Well, our ministry is as strong as the people in it who are willing to serve and help it grow. We can't hire out everything we do here at this church. So what can you do? Well, at the first Sunday of every month, we have a fellowship hour. So if you want to be a part of helping with that, I think there's a sign-up sheet in the back of the church for that, and you can bring goodies to serve, cookies and fruit and all kinds of stuff that can be a part of that. We also have an ushering and greeting team. If you'd like to be a part of that, you can sign up for that. We have a spiritual care team that is emerging. It's part of our prayer chaplain program, but there are other ways that you can serve in reaching out to people in a prayerful way in our ministry. It's more than just me talking with people and praying with people. Yes, I do quite a bit of that, but it takes us all to do that. You have to think of ministry as kind of a spiritual co-op. You put in and you take out. And so spiritual care team, if you'd like to, call people on the phone, see how they're doing, if you want to write prayer letters to people or send cards to people, if you want to be part of the prayer chain or the email chain ministry, this would be a good way to do that. Fundraising, yes. Any organization has fundraising. And one of the big events of the year is the annual spring yard sale. Last year, we made over $2,000 doing that. That's a lot of fun. And so you can be a part of that when it comes up. When we get for Christmas, we have the stuffed animal drive. So you can bring animals and stuff in here. And they're taken to a local Bonita Springs Elementary School, as is the school uniform drive. Before school, usually August, September, in that range there, we buy uniforms for kids who need them. We also provide food for the Cafe of Life, which is an outreach ministry here in the Bonita Springs area, where we have a basket in the lobby where you can bring non-perishable food items in there. We also have developed a ministry of what we call blessing bags, where you fill a bag with stuff that people who don't have a home and need things to just get through life. We've just started that. And we also, again, we have these huge grounds here. Can one person deal with them all? Well, sure, we have the front lawns and things mowed frequently, but we also need work done on our gardens and things. So if you'd like to be part of the grounds team, we certainly welcome you to serve in that way. Financial support. So if you're going to become a member, is somebody going to hit me up for money? The answer is no. Unity of Bonita Springs is supported solely by the free will offerings of its members and friends. There's no financial obligation for membership, but Unity teaches tithing as a way of prospering your own life. It's a spiritual principle. I personally am a tither. Our ministry is also a tithing ministry. That is, we tithe from our income to support others. It's not a requirement, but it's simply something to consider as a way of life for yourself. But my motto has always been regarding supporting a church, a ministry, or any organization. A church worth having is a church worth supporting. And that's something you need to decide how you want to give to the support of what is going to become your spiritual home. And so what do I do now? I want to become a member. Well, you can fill out an application form. You can click on the link that is in this video. And once we receive your application form, then we will pass it on to our board of trustees at their next meeting, and they can approve you as a member. And when we get a number of people who have made applications to join the church, we'll have a formal membership ceremony at a Sunday service that works for everyone. So that's the process. And we are so happy that you are considering becoming a member of our church. Again, it is a really nice place to be, not just the physical ground. I mean, this if you're looking for a park to go to or places to hang out in nature, and you're in the Bonita Springs area, I mean, it's the place to come. It's available 24/7. You just come here, park in the parking lot, walk back to the meditation garden or on the Peace Path Trail. And what's most important, it's more than just a building, it's more than just grounds, it's the people who make up this ministry. That is the ministry of Unity of Bonita Springs, and we're so happy you decided to add who you are to this ministry, to make it a part of your life. And we just know that you will be blessed by this experience, and you will be a blessing for others. So thanks for being a part of this. And we welcome you into membership, and we'll see you around. And as I like to say, wherever you are, know that God is with you and within you.